to a little yin yang flow. So we're going to start with a butterfly pose. You can do this as a seated forward bend if you think that would be nicer for your back. You can do it as a reclining pose, which is what I'm going to do. You can use a blanket or some pillows or something under your knees to help support your legs as needed. And then if you are of a mind to do it, you can put something under your back so that your shoulders kind of open up around it, which is also what I'm going to do. So I'm going to lay down this bolster here, and then I'm going to lie down over it. Now, if you use something a little softer like a rolled up blanket in place of this pillow, you can have the blanket come down a little farther down your back. But for something kind of firm, like if you have a yoga block or a kind of firm pillow, you might want that to stay up closer to the shoulder blades. Squishier couch cushions or little throw pillows, those can cover the whole length of your back if you like it. Just go by how it feels. And then we're going to let the shoulders just relax out to the sides. You can find the right arm position. And we'll stay here. This is kind of the yin portion of our yin-yang class today. So we'll do the yin at the beginning. So we'll stay for about 4 minutes, just letting the body open up here and relax. Make sure you're taking deep breaths, nice, smooth, even breaths, as best you can anyway. Always aiming for a little bit of movement in the rib cage in the morning. So get some freedom kind of in those muscles that assist the diaphragm in breathing. About 5 more breaths. My knees together first, and then I can slip that guy out, and then I'm gonna just roll over. Now if you're doing a seated version, you can roll onto your back for this, or you could do a seated side bend instead of this banana pose. So that's up to you. I like the one on the back personally. So I'm going to give myself just a few moments, a little windshield wiper action. I want to make sure I've got enough room that I can stretch my arms and legs out and have space. So you might have to angle yourself in your particular space. So you've got enough room for that. And then essentially we're just going to stretch out long and curve over over to the side like a banana. Not a, not a tight crescent, just a really long, loose crescent. Now you can put support under your shoulders, or you can put support under your knees. You can cross the outside ankle over the inside ankle if you like. Just kind of create this shape. We're not trying to scrunch up the inside edge of it. We just want to create some length down the other edge. So adjust your arms, adjust your neck and your head and your legs in whatever way makes sense, so that you can let your body relax into that shape, into this shape. We'll stay here for a couple minutes on one side, then we'll do the other. The hardest part of the yin poses, I think, is trying to keep your mind focused on what you're up to, rather than making a list and planning for stuff you're going to do later and all that sort of jazz. So just keep bringing your mind back to the breath and to the sensations of the pose as often as you find your mind wandering, which in my case is quite often. Okay, so we're going to take 2 more breaths here. And then we're just going to meander ourselves back to the center. Oh. Now before I do anything else, I do like, again, a little bit of movement. You can pull your knees into your chest. This little windshield wiper movement is my favorite today, but in general. But you could definitely draw the knees in and do a little bit more of a massage with the legs over the pelvis, which feels good too. All right, now before I stretch to the other side, I'm just going to check in and see if there's any really sensation difference between the side I've done and the side I haven't. And it just feels like my right leg is a little bit longer than my left leg. It's, sometimes I feel it. A difference all the way through the whole body. Mostly in this case, the sensation is in the leg, a little bit in the arm. So that's fine. Like we might not feel anything. It's like it might be really dramatic, it might be really subtle. I would suggest more likely subtle. In any case, when you're ready, you can bend over the opposite direction. And again, take a few moments to sort of settle in, get your head in the right arrangement for your neck and your shoulder. Adjust the arms as you need. Maybe they need to go down lower or go out like little cactus arms or whatever. And then let everything get settled in. And we're just going to breathe nice and smooth and rhythmically. And try to hang with the pose mentally. And when we leave it, come on back. gonna take about 5 more breaths here, yogis. Alright, so I'm going to just inch my way back to the center. Give myself a little rinse. Alright, so we're done with the stuff that we're going to do laid on our back. We're going to do a couple of little hip opener ones I've been kind of working with all week, so we'll do those, and then we'll get into a little more of a flowy stuff. So we're going to meet up in a seated position, but in the meantime, if you would like to do something else, like maybe you need a little movement pattern first, you can certainly do that. Oh, good. My furry coworker has found some plastic baggie that kitchen stuff came in. My vegetables came in. I don't know where she got that, but she's put it right underneath your camera mic, so apologize for the crinkly plastic sounds. They're probably really loud. Nice job. You certainly earned your pay today. All right. They don't get paid. I've got a L shape here, like a 90-degree angle at this knee with this leg kind of pointing backwards. Got a 90-degree angle on this leg with this leg pointing, or up front. Now this is the deer shape, so there's a couple of different ways you can work with the deer. You can sit straight up, which is nice. You can lean forward over this leg. I'm going to put a pillow here, or you can actually twist away from it and lean into the ground over there. So those are kind of 3 options for you. Hopefully one of those will work. I'm going to go for this kind of slightly forward position with the deer pose. So it sort of starts to feel a little like a swan pose in the front leg hip. Just combining some shapes. Make it even better. Or perhaps not. You could argue either way. And we'll stay here for about 3 minutes. Stay and breathe. We're just hanging out for another minute or so. There's a murder of crows outside of my window here having a conversation. It's one of my favorite group of animals names, a murder of crows. I would like to be the person who got to come up with that particular job to decide what groups of animals were going to be called. Not flocks. Not in crow's case. They're clearly a murder. Oh, goodness. Okay, so we're gonna take a nice big breath. Lean myself back. Now to come out of this shape, I'm just gonna bring my back leg around because it's gonna come up on top of this guy. So first I'm gonna start by just peeling that around to the front, and before I put it up on top, I'm gonna give it a little, just a little movement. It's very odd, that, that leg position. It's not one I take in normal life. And then this guy comes up on top in some way. Now you can cross the knees over each other or the shins. I'm gonna do kind of a little hybrid. I'm gonna do a shin, but I'm gonna leave it off to the side here, or off to the front a little bit so that my ankle joint doesn't push into my leg. Okay, so and that gives me a chance to kind of bring my knees in just a little bit tighter too. So I like that way. Now, you can organize yourself in any position, including just a simple cross-legged seating position, or if no matter what you do, your knees are gonna complain about this, flip back over onto your back and put one leg over the other, or as close as you can, and then just hold onto it. You can do it upside down as well. Okay, now some people are gonna need to lean back. That's actually gonna be the place where they feel a nice stretch. Sitting up tall is another possibility. For me, leaning slightly forward is the best possibility. And then, you know, going further from that, you could even go so far forward that you fold over your legs, maybe even to the point of resting your elbows on the floor in front of you. You don't have to do that, but that's certainly, that'd be as far as you could go. It's down to the floor anyway. We're aiming for this kind of outer hip area. So feel like, where are you feeling sensation? If all of the sensation is landing in your knees, make some changes. Just trying to get to that little outer hip. The legs closer together helps get into that territory. So if your knees are wider apart than your hips, like, play with your pose until you can get your knees into the center line. Just as far as they'll go. We're not, you know, it's a yoga pose. We're gonna be fine. We're gonna hang out for a while longer. I just spotted I have this pair of Bluetooth headphones that I use sometimes to listen to things, and they got stolen last night by one of my coworkers. I just saw them way up under the couch, but I see them. Usually when they steal things, they stick it behind the washing machine, which is a much bigger pain in the butt to get things out of. Under the couch is so much better. So you might have some environmental distractions at your house. We'll just come on back to the pose. So we're here for like less than a minute. We're just shy of a minute. About 5 more breaths. Okay, so I'm going to take a big inhale, holding that breath in, come all the way up, and then lean back and unwind your legs. And before we do the other side, we're just going to pause for a second and give everything a little rinse. Do the other side, same idea. So start with the deer shape. And again, you have the option of just sitting up, of turning and laying down to the side, so it's more of a twist, or folding forward. So it's a little bit more of, a little closer to the swan pose or the pigeon pose, but with the leg bent instead of straight out to behind you. So kind of choosing your pose. And again, we're going to stay for a while, about 3 minutes-ish. So let yourself sink into it as best you can. for me, this hip, letting this hip relax is one of the most important parts of the deer. So it sometimes wants to feel like it kind of jacks inward. So I'm just trying to let this soften down out towards the knee. Got like the tiniest little wrinkle in fabric that's not good. There we go. Nice deep breaths. Inside of our last minute here, probably about 4 or 5 more breaths to go. Take a really big breath. Let go with a big sigh. Now again, we're going to kind of lean this direction and widen that back leg. You can pause for a moment, give it a little movement before bringing it up on top in whichever fashion you're going to aim for, so that you can provide the right amount of support. You can pad up both knees, or you can, add some blocks to rest your elbows on. You might need to lean back, so it might be more like letting your hands kind of help you lean back. It's just kind of finding your way into this shape. I'm not trying to hunch around my spine. I'm just trying to see how far my pelvis wants to come forward, and then relaxing from there. Okay. Reminding yourself to come back to nice deep breaths, being present for the pose and whatever's kind of unfurling. I like to try to notice, like, is there anywhere where I'm tightening up? Am I resisting the pose at all? Sometimes it's just my face. Sometimes I'll find like a hip or a knee trying to lift up, and that tells me I might need to add a little more support to that area. So just kind of I just do this little scan, just kind of check all the body parts out. See if there's anything in particular that's sort of calling my attention. And come back to the breath. So I've got a little over a minute left. So we're going to take a nice big breath and let go with a really big, and we're going to inhale our way up. Kind of lean back and widen your legs. Oh. Okay. Now, I'm not going anywhere right away. I'm going to do these little seated movements just to kind of get myself moving. And then I'm going to get up to all fours and do some cat-cow shapes, a little down dog, that kind of thing. So you can do those poses, or you can kind of, go your own way. You want to do some interpretive dance? I'm not going to stop you. Initially, the first couple of movements often feel a little strange, especially if I'm moving in slightly different ways than my back is used to moving with those longer holds. So just kind of checking in, taking it slow, finding your way through some movement. You can do some little child's posy stuff. Child's pose is really nice. I like it. It's a nice little transition pose, plus it has its own merits beyond just moving between poses. And then you can do some other things. I've just decided I'm going to do this little lunge here, kind of move in and out on one leg and then the other, and then I'm going to do some downward dog. Depending on how good of friends you are with your downward dog, you guys might be done with each other within a few breaths, or you might hang out for a little bit longer. But when you're done, just come up to the top of your mat with your feet, and we'll kind of find a little transition space there. So that kind of, it's clearly time for me to refill this, even though it's got an inch of water in it. It's complaining about life. Yeah, I can appreciate it. There's lots of reasons to complain about life these days. Not so many reasons to not complain. Oh, except that it doesn't help really. All right, so when you get there, get to the top of your mat. And then, just check in with all the other body parts. Move your arms around. You can shake out your legs a little bit. And then eventually, we're going to find our way into a mountain pose. Now, mountain pose, feet kind of point forward. We might spread out the toes, move around a little bit, get the feet as wide as possible. And then notice where the weight distributes in your feet. Does it kind of hang out at the edges? Does it hang out on the inside? Arch. Can you distribute the weight across the ball of the foot and the heel in such a way that you can feel the inside arch of your foot, the outside arch of the foot, and then the little arch that lives between your big toe and your little toe? It might take a while to contact all those, so we'll just put that out there for today and kind of see if we can start to feel some of that support structure in the foot itself. And relax the shoulders. Just pause for a second with your weight distributed nice and even across your foot that way. Left to right, front to back, center to outside. So we're going to stretch the arms up nice and tall. You're going to grab your right wrist, give yourself a little stretch to the left. Come back up. We're going to pick the left foot up. And if you can, you're just going to hold that leg up in the air. Now you can have the leg straight or bent. Straight is going to make your quads work a lot harder. And then just working with the balance. We're going to take one more breath and then step back into a high lunge. So I'm going to try to catch myself here. So I'm up on the toes on this back leg. The front knee is bent, toes spread out, and that's it. I'm just aiming myself forward. You can stretch between those 2 points, pausing there. Or if you want, you can add a little bit of movement to it. I'm just going to take, the movement is coming from my wobbliness, so I'm going to take one more breath as it is. All right, so then I'm going to bring the back foot just a little bit further forward so I can get both feet onto the ground with the legs straight. You might, again, have to just adjust the way the toes are pointing. Ideally as close to forward as possible, but you know, accommodate your body. So we're going to fold over top of this front leg, bend the knee a little bit, straighten it out. You're going to go for the straightest leg you can, but you might need to stay up a little higher with your torso in order for that not to feel like it lands all the way at your sit bone. So I've got a little yoga block here, but you could use a piece of furniture or wall, whatever you got. Upside down Tupperware containers work great. I'm going to take a couple deep breaths here. Just moving in and out. And then hold and steady. And then we're going to step back to down dog. Now you can just hold downward dog, or you can do a little vinyasa sequence. So vinyasa just means a sequence of poses that are put together in a way that's thoughtful. So this is a little vinyasa sequence. It's like the sun salutation. So you can throw that in there. And then we're going to take this left leg up in the air. Now just kind of hook it over your back a little bit like a scorpion tail. Can you sink into your right heel a little bit? Give that left ankle a couple of little turns in each direction. And then we're going to step it forward. Now you could go straight through the middle, but that's tough for a lot of folks. So you could also bring the leg out to the side like a diagonal. And then get your weight in your legs so you can step this right one up to meet the left one. Come up halfway. Fold. And then come all the way to standing. Give yourself a nice big stretch. And if you land at the top of your mat, awesome. But if you don't, you just get there. And then pause and feel that mountain pose. Now maybe the second mountain pose is different than the first. For me, there's almost always just a little bit more of a hum. I see my other furry coworkers woken up. We're going to take a nice big breath. Stretch up. I'm going to grab this left wrist, stretch myself over to the right side. Coming back, I'm going to pick up my right leg. And again, I'm going to try to hold that balance for a bit. And then I'm going to try to step it back into a high lunge without breaking anything personally or furniture-wise. Kind of find that lunge shape. And again, you can, for me, that's just a little bit of a wobble, so that's enough movement for right now. But if you want to move it a little bit up or down, move your back knee down and up, you can certainly do that. You can add a little pulsation to it. Ooh. Hold it for 2 more breaths. Okay, so then I'm going to bring this back foot just far enough forward that I can get both feet onto the ground with both legs straight. And again, I want my hips to aim forward as best I can. So I'm just accommodating that to the, possibilities that are available to a human body. It may not be exactly perfect, both and what would be. So I'm coming forward to the degree that I feel something here. I might go in and out a couple times. Just kind of noticing I'm keeping my torso more parallel so that I can more evenly distribute the stretch here on the back of the leg. using this as an opportunity to work through my calf muscles on this back leg by pressing the heel down. Okay, so we're going to take ourselves back into downward dog. And again, you can add in that vinyasa sequence, or you could just hold downward dog and go on a little journey here. And then we'll take the right leg up behind us, kind of hook it over, give that left heel a little squeeze towards the floor, and then spin that right ankle around a few times. Step that foot forward, bring the other foot up to meet it, coming up halfway. Exhale, fold. Oh. That feels good to me, but it doesn't always feel good to everybody. So finding my way here in amongst my jungle to extend my arms. All right, we're going to take one more little trip here into mountain pose. So just feeling, is there a little bit different sense of the body taking that mountain pose the third time? All right. Now you can do any balancing pose that you like. If you would like to do a tree pose, you can do that. Another way to do the pose that I'm going to do with this yoga strap is to hold onto your foot, okay? So I want to get this kind of overhead position with my arms. So because I'm interested in doing that, and I cannot do that in real life, yoga strap extends the length of my arm. So I'm going to put my weight in my right leg, and my left leg is going to be lifted first. Now, the danger of using a strap is that you can tangle yourself up if you start to fall. So if you start to fall when you use one of these, let go with the hands so you can catch yourself with your leg and not get tangled up. Okay, so I'm lifting my left leg behind me, and then both hands overhead. And theoretically one day I would hold onto my foot, but I can guarantee you genetically that that's not going to happen. So this is a nice way to do it. And then hold and steady as best I can, and then you with your pose as best you can. Last breath here. Okay, so I'm going to step back into Warrior 2 after I've released my foot. Okay, so maybe you landed your Warrior 2 just right. I did not, so I have to jiggle my feet a little bit until I'm in place. Okay, so we'll hang out with this Warrior 2. Now, sometimes, again, there's a tendency in this pose to try to kind of hold ourselves up with the arms. See if you can imagine that you're holding yourself up from your abs instead, and the arms just rest on your abdominal muscles. It's a little trick, but sometimes it helps release tension. See if your arms will make themselves a little bit longer. 2 more breaths here. And now we're going to go for a straighter leg and then come over sideways. So coming back to a hamstring stretch with a different angle on it. So sometimes it helps me to adjust the feet once again. And there are camps out there that try to get you to tuck your hip under. The issue I have with those is that it's not very friendly on the hip joint. It's not very friendly on the spine. But you can experiment with it. I kind of let this right hip stick out behind me. So I'm lengthening just slightly to the center. Feels better to me to do it that way, but you might have another idea. I'm using a block here, but you could just as easily use your shin or some other surface. You can put the arms straight up. And like I've had some neck and shoulder stuff this week, so I'm just doing this one because it feels a little more caring. Last breath here, yogis. Oh. All right, so we're going to come around to this center point, bring in all the toes around, and then you can do a little bit of a movement, or you can just hang upside down for a moment. I like both ideas. Now, if you like, you can throw a little vinyasa into this and then come up to the top of your mat. Otherwise, you'll step up to the top of the mat. Take a moment there. Come up halfway. fold in. Oh. And then we're going to come all the way up to standing and find that mountain pose again. Oh. Get that steady place. And if you did the vinyasa, you just get up here when you get here. And then we're going to take ourselves into our standing balance pose on the opposite side. Take 2 more breaths if possible. And then stepping it on back into Warrior 2, or something like Warrior 2, which you then fix into Warrior 2. And then just breathe. Two more of those. And then we're going to stretch out the front leg. Again, you can make little minor adjustments as you need to kind of create a nice triangle pose that works for you. Given the day and how it feels to be in your pose right now, sometimes I love that extended arm. It feels like wings. And I've got some trouble with my neck or my shoulder. It doesn't always feel as good. So just working with what you got today. We're going to take about 3 more breaths. Now we're going to take this around all the way back into that wide angle shape. And you can use that just kind of as a little release for your neck, but you're going to bring the heels in and come into a wide squat. So I'm going to turn it around because it'll be easier if I'm talking to you and not the window. So just kind of pause, finding that wide squat that seems appropriate, kind of working these inner thighs a little bit. And we're just going to see if we can lift up onto the tiptoes and then come down. So I'm holding those thighs really firm, tiptoes and down. Spread out my toes a little bit. Tiptoes and down. Good. And then we're going to come back around. Now, if you can squat all the way down and sit on the floor, do that. Otherwise, you can return to little knees on the ground and then take yourself to a on the floor position. So, just a little transition space here. Just give yourself a moment to do a little movement. So we're just going to do a simple seated twist. Now you can bring your knee up if you like. I'm going to leave my knees where they are so that this twist mostly happens in my upper back. So just turning to the left, because my left leg's the one that's up front. I'm going to hold on with my hand, so wherever you can reach is fine, even holding the opposite leg. So I'm going to try to get this right shoulder blade to go out, away from the center. And then I'm going to try to pull this left shoulder blade, or turn to the left, take this left shoulder blade inward toward the middle. So I'm not trying to spin my spine anymore, but I am trying to get my shoulder blades to move. And then sometimes I have to turn my head the opposite direction. That feels better. Sometimes it feels good to turn it in that way, sometimes the other way. So just kind of feel that out too. Unwind that and take just a moment. We're going to undo the legs and do them up the other way. Sit up nice and tall. Organize yourself the opposite direction when you're ready. And again, I'm trying to take this shoulder blade that's up front. So in this case, my left one, I'm going to try to kind of pull it out to the left a little bit so I can make room for this right one to come towards the center and down. It's almost like I'm trying to put my right shoulder blade into my left back pocket. Sorry about the sudden loss of voice. I'm not sure where that's coming from, but it's interesting. I'm just really subtly trying to move my shoulder blades as they give way just a little bit more into that space. Last breath here. And I'm gonna gently peel that around. All right, so this is the point where, if you've got things you need to do, okay, this is your chance. Go do those things. You've got a little bit of time, you can lay down on your back, stretch out, do a little corpse pose. It's really good for you. So you can do that here. So I'm gonna use a blanket under my head, and I'm gonna put a pillow under my legs. It makes it more comfortable that way. Once I am on my back, I'm gonna do some little of those windshield wipery back massagey things that I was doing earlier. Little happy baby kind of shape, just to settle in. There's a little beam of light like coming right here into my eyeball. So I'm gonna take part of my blanket and just cover my eyes. So there's not so much beam of light there. And then just settle in. So you might have to adjust your props so that they're just right. You have to adjust your arms so that they're just right. What we're aiming for is for the body to be as tension-free as possible. Because this pose is all about our nervous system. It's just letting the nervous system kind of coalesce into a parasympathetic state. So most of the time, deep breathing and present moment awareness with the mind helps us stay in that parasympathetic nervous system state. But when we're tugging on the body in different places, there's a lot of sensory data that goes to the mind, to the brain. So this is an opportunity for all that sensory data to kind of pause, and so we can really shift almost completely into that relaxed state. This is the state of the nervous system when we can digest our food and the body repairs itself and that sort of thing. Especially if you, like me, are suffering with some insomnia lately, this pose can help us just relax a little bit and give ourselves a little bit of time. It's not going to replace hours of sleep, but it can at least give us a little bit of space to be in that repair, rest, and digest part of our nervous system. There's a point a few minutes in where you might even feel the little shift in the nervous system. Just, it's almost like easing the seat back. stay just a little bit longer now. So what we're going to do now is just pay attention to the breath again. Just feel the breath coming and going. Notice how the body responds to the breath with this kind of gentle movement, rhythm pattern. It's no wonder human beings love music so much. There's these rhythms that we grow up with, this rhythm of the breath coming and going, the rhythm of our heartbeat, sort of ties us to musical expression. It's literally the rhythm of our life. Take a nice big deep breath all the way to your tiptoes. Let go with a big ah. And then you can wiggle and stretch through the fingers and toes, and wrists and ankles, and arms and legs. When you're done with the stretching and the jiggling and the back massaging, you can roll yourself over and push yourself upright. However long that takes. You're at your house, you can stay as long as you want. So we'll take a moment and just have a big breath together. Nice big inhale. Big deep sigh. Namaste, yogis. Thank you for joining me. Welcome to the rest of your day.